got to constantly keep evolving. Like it's very like you go back to Gordon Ramsay's now, or you go back to the Waterside now, and it's the same.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at cars, like every year there's a new model comes out. So I think that's where we're at now, and just develop our food and stay on top of the pack, as so to speak.
What is Circo?
It's a restaurant which I was lucky enough to get a partnership in back in 1998. Back then I was 26 years old. It was kind of my dream come true. I've done all my training in London and France. And
with who? Who are your masters?
Michel at the Waterside Inn.
Never heard of that.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I was with him for 3.5 years, and then one day I got a phone call from Pierre
Never heard of him neither.
And he offered me a head chef's job in his restaurant called Harvey's at the time. So I went with Marco and we opened 2 restaurants together, which was the Hyde Park Hotel, which was the restaurant Marco Pierre White, which won 3-star Michelin. I actually came on holiday to Melbourne and ate in Jack Ramone's and Paul McCoos, and I went to the Stokehouse, and as I was there I had a friend that used to come to London and meet me, so he introduced me to her and got chatting, and they were like, hey, why don't you come and work for us?
How do you compare the style of running restaurants here compared to what you're used to with what's going on in London with Marco and all those people?
Oh, look, I reckon that a lot of the operators in London, they're not really good operators. I think that because of the population that London has, and because of supply and demand, the restaurants are always busy. Last time Gordon was out, he actually came in, because I'm quite good friends with him. We called up and he said, I can't believe how tough it is in Australia. We all like to think that what we're going to do is going to be successful, and when I first opened here I had a vision of cooking the food that I cooked at Marco's, and that's exactly what I've done, and it didn't take me long to realise that we weren't doing that well. We could see that Lux and Est and some Sydney restaurants weren't doing that well, and we were sort of following their lead, so we decided that we were going to make keep everything, keep the Rydell glassware and great produce and Vilrain bock plates and great service and beautiful dining room, but just make everything a little bit more friendly and a bit more accommodating and a bit more nothing's a problem kind of attitude towards our guests. And I also sort of decided to take a slightly different direction with the food, and I wouldn't say that we've gone Asian, I'd say that we've got a really nice mishmash of different cuisines all together. So some of the things we do are French, some of the things we do are Thai, some are Thai French, some are Italian, but the food's much lighter and it's much cleaner and fresher. In French cuisine it's all about roasting and extracting flavour, whereas in Thai cuisine it's a different style of, you've got to pound the lemongrass to get the flavour out of it and pound the lime leaf to get and I didn't know all of that. And
so you just thought it was just cutting it up, throwing it in like you wouldn't a French with a garnish, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing a lot of that and getting a bit frustrated with why it didn't taste very nice. So, in the end, I think you just have to sort of say, look, I don't know how to do this, I need someone to show me. So that's why I went to London and worked with David for a week. The rest of the world's probably looking at Australia going, hey, yeah, you guys are doing it. Whereas we've always, I've got a lot of guys that work for me here that they all want to go and work in London.
Sure.
And they all come back going, well, what was that? And it's like, you go to London and it's not any better than what we're doing here.
No. Have you tried any unusual Asian things other than the lemongrass and the coriander we're used to?
We use a thing called galinga, which is kind of like it's like a really hot ginger, which adds a beautiful, mixed with tuna. It just gives it such a beautiful, like, hot horseradishy, gingery flavour. We've started to use Cape gooseberries, which are like really sour. So if you mix them into a broth, all of a sudden you can be eating something, and all of a sudden you get this little sour hit that's not hot, that just adds a lovely little sort of
twist.
Yeah. We've limited the amount of veal stock we make, and we make everything with chicken stock. So all the sauces are like really light and clean. But I think that the sauces that I learnt to make with Marco, like, they're still something that I don't want to go away from, because you can eat that sauce and it's not reduced and sticky. It's kind of really flavoursome and light.
What was so special about Marco to you?
He was like a rock star chef, but he also showed us that anyone can make it happen. I didn't think he was a particularly good cook. I think that he had probably about 6 or 7 things that he knew how to do really well, and he just used to change them all around. And like, we always used to have a joke in the kitchen where, and Marco would go, "Oh, Michael, I want to have a menu meeting with you." And I used to get a piece of paper and cut it up into 6 things and write red mullet, beef, red wine, put it all in a hat, and go, "Well, what we're going to do today on the new menu? Okay, we're going to do beef with deep fried legs, and that's going on the new menu."
So you'd say obviously Gordon's a much better cook than
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Gordon's a smarter operator as well. Marco had this reputation of, you know, shouting and screaming and you know, ripping the phone off the wall and smashing it up, and it was all good fun. But after a while,
you can't see that too many times.
Yeah, after a while, you know, his business was growing, and he was losing chefs every day, and he wasn't replenishing them. And everyone in the end said, "Okay, Marco, you can be the dictator, but you're on your own," and we all left.
Do you think it was just a matter of he was the right person, the right place, at the right time?
At that time, probably sort of late 80s, you had like the Nicos and the Raymond Blancs and the Roux brothers, and England was actually waiting for this young new person to burst onto the scene, and it was him.
He looked good.
He looked good.
He was half. He was from the continent as well.
He was from Yorkshire, and his name was Mark White.
You're kidding?
Yeah, I opened a restaurant with him in Ilkley, in Yorkshire, which was where he'd done his training shit. It was called the Box Tree back in the 70s, and it was the only restaurant that had 2 Michelin stars in the whole UK. And we took it over as part of the Marco Pierre White group, and I went up there to relaunch the restaurant. So that's how I found out, you know, that he was a local lad. He went to school in Leeds. His name was Mark White.
You're kidding me. God, there's another myth totally. Next thing you'll be telling me Superman doesn't exist.